Hey there, and welcome to another episode of Home Tech. Thank you for joining us. I'm joined as usual by Seth. Seth, how are you?
Doing well, Jason. How do I sound?
You sound great.
Yeah, I want to apologize, everybody, for my horrible sound. My USB came unplugged last week, and my microphone was off, and I was recording with the computer for both the interview and the episode that we had. At the same time, Jason goes off and gets a brand new microphone and sounds excellent the entire time. So.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of funny. The previous episode to that, I was having some technical difficulties on my end. So we've had a couple of rough weeks here in terms of audio quality, but we hope to be back on track now, and we appreciate everyone's patience.
Yeah, I think we figured it out. Just make sure the USB is plugged in to the microphone, and I'm good.
There are worse mistakes that you can make. But anyways, thanks again, everyone, for joining us. We got an exciting episode here. We actually had Clark Endrizzi, who is the founder and CTO of a company called Skydrop. And Skydrop makes a smart sprinkler system, like a smart irrigation controller. And really cool product. I enjoyed the conversation. Has a lot of neat features built into it. And definitely solves a real problem. I mean, water usage is a big issue all across our nation. So I think anything that can be done on a technical level to make it easier for users to assist in fixing that issue is great. I was excited to talk to him.
Yeah, I said this in the interview too, but I'm just surprised at how technical it could be to set one of these up. It's definitely outside of it's definitely outside of my knowledge, to set one of these things up. I thought they were just dumb timers, with relay boards on them, but no, there's a lot that could go into these, and they have the intelligence built behind it to make it simple, and that's what we're all about here. Is finding the products that are simple to use, simple to set up. That's what we're all about as integrators.
Yeah, definitely. Like ways technology can really help solve real problems, and the kind of main issue that they really are looking to solve is that most of us really don't have the kind of domain knowledge to understand the intricacies of proper lawn care and how to do it not only effectively but efficiently. And that's where the intelligence comes in. So we look forward to sharing that interview with our audience.
Yeah, definitely. So a couple of interesting news stories. DropCam discontinued their tabs, which were their little sticky sensors that you could put anywhere, and they were Bluetooth low energy sensors, and they would integrate with their DropCam Pro. This comes on the heels of them being acquired by Nest. So just a very interesting development here that I didn't really see coming, but it also fits in with some rumors that I've been hearing for a long time about Nest.
Yeah. I was surprised to see this. We had talked about it on an episode a while back, and I thought the DropCam tabs looked like a pretty cool product. Kind of made DropCam into a more robust home monitoring almost solution at that point. More so than they already are, obviously. And I was a little bit surprised to hear that they were putting these on hold, but like you said, I'll let you maybe elaborate on that a little. But I'm sure it likely has a lot to do with it's primarily or exclusively, I should say, due probably to maybe conflicting plans with possibly something Nest already had in the works.
Yeah, I mean, the rumor has been that Nest has been working on a security-type product for a while, and it makes sense. It even fits in with their name, Nest. Nest is your home. You want to be able to monitor your nest or your home. And I've always kind of thought of them more than just a thermostat company. And with the acquisition of DropCam, after DropCam came out with these tabs, it made perfect sense to me, that Nest would have these two products integrate with their thermostat and basically make the thermostat the hub of the house, which is smart, because you go out and you buy a SmartThings hub or a Revolve or you spend a few $100 on one of those, and it doesn't do anything but sit there and plug into your internet. And it gives you the bridge to all the technologies, but it doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. With the thermostat, you get a hub that's on the wall, and it does something. It does something basic. It controls your HVAC, but it also could branch off and talk to different devices like Maybe it will talk to the drop, work with drop cam, and maybe that's the way they're going to do security. Kind of like Canary. Remember we talked to those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Nest is going to come up with something similar to what they have. So I don't know. It's interesting that they have canceled all the pre-orders and just kind of said, we're not doing this right now. Especially with those rumors that have been kind of flying around that Nest is moving a little bit more forward with, the out of thermostats and smoke alarms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think where there's smoke, there's fire, and obviously that there's something there. There's something going on, and we'll just have to keep an eye on it to see. I'm sure there's some people that were kind of disappointed, though, people who had put in pre-orders for that product and we're looking forward to getting their hands on it, but we'll just have to see. There was another story we wanted to touch on here, Nortec, which is kind of a large, I don't know, what would you call them, like a conglomerate almost?
Yeah, it's just they hold a bunch of companies.
Holdings company.
Yeah, holdings company. They have, 2 gig, linear, and they had this group of brands. God, that's a horrible name. They call it core brands. It sounds so marketing driven. But core brands included Elan Home Control Systems, Speakercraft, they make speakers, obviously. Proficient, another speaker company. Niles, I guess they make amps and speakers too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Panamax and Furman, which are kind of one and the same company. They're a surge protection, and Xantec, which is IR related. I mean, they may have more. I have no idea. All I think of Xantec and I think of IR.
Yeah, I think of an IR emitter.
so lots of those being sold. Well, evidently they're not selling as many IRs as they used to.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah, they're reporting that they lost for 2014. They lost 12.8 million out of that group of core brands, and that's compared to a loss of 6.1 million in 2013.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a double. I mean, in an economy that's getting better, I don't know. This just kind of says that maybe this kind of represents kind of the old guard of home automation, right? To me, like Speakercraft, Elan, these are all like the basic building blocks of what we used to make home automation and home audio systems with, right?
Yeah, I mean, it does. That angle of the story definitely struck me as well. These are all brands that have been around for a long time in our industry, and to varying degrees all have some tie-ins with various forms of control and integration, which is obviously our main focus here. Not really a show that talks about speakers and amps all that much, but each one of these companies are tied into that larger, broader kind of dealer installed smart home and home automation channel. So the fact that they're not doing so well, could be a sign of the times, could be a sign of possibly just poor management, could be a combination, but that definitely did strike me when I first saw the story.
Well, they cite that the AV portion's poor performance to technology changes that affect certain product categories that the business compete in was caused by the demand to shift from certain legacy products to newer technologies. And I'm paraphrasing there, not quoting. So, and then they said that they're basically trying to catch up with newer technologies, including mainstream home automation. So, yeah, I mean, like Xantec, okay, that's IR. I mean, like I said, these were like during the 90s and maybe late 80s. These were like the core products that we would go to automate a home, and I don't think they've changed much. I mean, Elan did change their product line not too long ago before they were bought by Core. But before that, I mean, they were relays and very, very basic but solid and reliable equipment. So it's hard to you can feel the shift and you can, I guess, see it here in the numbers that people are moving away from those types of systems and into IP based home automation.
Right. Well, speaking of the broader dealer installed home automation channels, we have CEDIA coming up. Big trade show. I'm getting really excited for that show. How about you?
Definitely. I still haven't bought a ticket, and I've registered, so I'm just not sure if I'm going yet, but I'm probably will be. I usually sneak in at the last second.
Yeah, it's a fun show to go to. Definitely exciting. A lot of energy around it. It's always a good time. But we saw a story come out this week that I know had a lot of people talking, and not necessarily for the reasons that Cedia, I should say, intended.
Yeah, Cedia released their finalists for the 2014 Manufacturers Excellent Awards. And there's 30 products in the Best New Product category. These are all finalists in the Best New Product category. And, for the most part, this is just marketing for all these products that are new this year. But there are two of them in particular I kind of have a problem with. Crestron announced a product called Ping, or they didn't announce it. It'll be announced at Cedia, called Ping, Pyng, that no one knows what is. And Control4's product is called To Be Announced. That's, how do you, no, it's just so wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of, you look at it and you scratch your head, and that's been a lot of the talk, and unfortunately that's kind of stolen the show with this list. There are some great products on here, and products that I know I'm excited about, but yeah, the fact that there's products on this list that haven't even been released yet, and nobody even knows what they are, I don't see how they could even be considered for this contest. It just doesn't make sense to me, let alone how they could become finalists. I mean, we've both been in this industry long enough to know that new products come along all the time, and it's really not uncommon for those products to fail to meet what they're promising. And the only way that you really find out if they're deliver on what they're promising is to get them out there in the field, right? Battle test them. And so I just don't know. It just doesn't register with me how you could have products on here that haven't even been released yet. I mean, we don't even know what they are. They're literally, if you look at the list, it says Control4 and the product is To Be Announced.
Yeah, I mean, you have no idea what even category that's going to fit into, right? I mean, there's some on here that I have never heard of, like Basalt, I guess, and looks like they make iPad docks, which I went to their website. It looks pretty cool. The iPort launch port with buttons, that looks awesome. Sonance has a product out called the Sonance Architectural Discrete Opening System. I guess you could shorten that to SATOS. I don't know what they're going to market it as, but that product looks really cool. But to just come out and say, "Oh, to be announced," yeah, I don't know. That kind of cheapens what I think these awards should highlight.
Yeah. I mean, I guess in their defense, to play devil's advocate here, what Cedia would probably say, and I'm speculating here, but would be, okay, we've had a look at these products. We think they're revolutionary. We think they're X, Y, and Z, and they're going to do this for the industry. And so we, as Cedia, have deemed them finalists for the product of the year, and you'll just have to wait and find out. But, from the integrator's angle, I agree with you. I think it kind of cheapens it.
Yeah, I think you and I and maybe a couple other people should sit down at Cedia, find the best new products, and give them HomeTech awards.
Yeah.
Stuff that's good for integrators. Yeah. We'll just print them up. Hold on, the Canon BubbleJet printer has got to print them up. So yeah, no, I think we should find the real. When I go around for Cedia, I look for the small booths, and I look for the small stuff that nobody finds. And some of the best products are in those small booths. So I think when we're at Cedia, we should make a point and highlight some of the products that maybe don't get the nod, I guess, from Cedia and their Manufacturers Excellence Awards.
Yeah, definitely. I'd be happy to take you up on that. I think it would be a nice thing to do, and kind of put the integrator's perspective on it. I mean, I know there are some products on here. You mentioned the Sonance, architectural discrete opening system. I've worked with a couple of those. That's a really neat product. We could throw a link up to that in the show notes. The Sonance soundbar. I think you and I think that's a very cool product, but I think you and I, at least initially, kind of had differing opinions on that one.
No, I think it'd be great if it was 2009. I mean, it's just kind of late to the game, guys. Come on. They're a custom
Yeah.
integration company. They should have had a soundbar years ago, and it's a cool piece. I'll give them that. But again, they should have had this out first.
Yeah, no, I could see that argument. For people listening who may not be familiar with it, the kind of feature that's sort of cool, and I guess the selling feature that they're touting on that one is, it's an adjustable width soundbar. We've had those out for a while. I mean, but the way it's traditionally been done is you got your actual soundbar cabinet that's a fixed width, and then you order the grill kind of to match. And so this one's an integrator friendly product. Just makes it a lot easier. We're not playing the guessing game with TV models and doing that sort of dance at the last minute to figure out what TV we actually got because the model number changed.
Or have you ever dealt with Leon speakers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, those are custom made to the finish and exact width of the TV. And like you said, you have to pretty much order the TV that
the same day you order the soundbar.
Exactly. I mean, it has to be, and it doesn't take them long to make those up, but I mean, it
you can't get it. You just can't be wrong.
Yeah, and well, what happens if the client says, "Well, I don't want that TV there now"? Like, well, the soundbar goes with it because you're gonna have to order a new soundbar. So this does make sense. It makes it easy to adjust. Make it look good in the end.
And you make a great point. I mean, like speakers are one of the few things we sell that are sort of timeless, right? Like speakers last a very long time if you take proper care of them. And so with TVs nowadays, I mean, people are getting a new TV every 2 to 3 years. And the fact that you can keep the same soundbar and still have it match the exact width of your new TV, that's pretty cool.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's a good product. I think their architectural discrete opening system is a lot better product. I mean, it looks really cool.
Well, they're two very different products, obviously. And I also happen to think that Sonance makes a great sounding speaker. So we're focusing on this one little feature, but I haven't actually heard one of them in person yet, but I will definitely be going to check that soundbar out at CEDIA because it's a nice selling feature, makes my life easier. And if it sounds great, like most of Sonance's stuff does, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, they're definitely known for quality in our industry and being very integrator friendly. So, and this shows, so does the discrete opening system that shows how committed they are to the channel. So,
yeah, definitely. All right. Well, I think we should jump into the interview, but just real quick before we do that, again, we just want to thank everyone for tuning in. If you're enjoying the show, stop on over at iTunes and leave us a review. We would definitely appreciate that. Also, follow us on Twitter at HomeTech Podcast or drop by the website. Leave us a comment. We've got a feedback page on there. If you have questions or suggestions for an episode, we would be more than happy to receive those and definitely take them into consideration.
Absolutely. You can also catch us on Stitcher too. Now, we announced that a little late last week, but I just wanted to make sure that we make sure that we covered it. If you use Stitcher to listen to your podcasts, we're on there. So easy to find.
All right, good deal. Well, with all of that said, let's go ahead and jump into our interview with the founder and CTO of Skydrop, Clark Endrizzi. We are pleased to welcome to the show Clark Endrizzi. Clark, how are you?
Good, thank you.
All right, well, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on Home Tech. Why don't we start out with just a brief introduction? Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and just tell them a little bit about who you are and, of course, about Skydrop as a company.
Yeah, so my name, again, is Clark Endrizzi, and I am the co-founder and CTO of Skydrop. And Skydrop is a smart sprinkler controller that we are putting on the market very shortly.
Great. And why don't you tell us about the idea for Skydrop to start? I know, so you're the CTO. I'm assuming that you were kind of the technical guy to get this idea going, but did this idea also stem from you? And if so, like where did this idea come about?
Yeah, it actually did stem from me. It's just something I had been thinking about for a long time, for years now, I guess. And, it really stemmed just from my own frustration. So I've been a homeowner about 10 years. And so one of the first things is we bought our house in wintertime, and we had to, once spring came up, it was, the exercise everyone has to go through where they had, you have to figure out how to use this sprinkler controller. And, my sprinkler controller, like a lot of people's, had, a bunch of, buttons and all those other things. And, it was very clear. It took me a while, even though I consider myself pretty good at electronics and things, it was pretty clear that this was a difficult thing to use. And so once I did get my head around it, then it was, okay, am I watering the right amount? Am I doing this correctly? Because myself, like many people, pays for water, and it's pretty expensive. And so I went through that whole exercise of, okay, how much do I need to water? And I'd ask a lot of people, and I'd get different answers. Oh, you should water every day. You should water as little often as possible. And it was a very frustrating experience. And being an engineer, I thought, okay, there's got to be an opportunity where technology can improve upon this.
Sure.
And so, yeah. And so one thing led to another, and found a great team, and we have just moved ahead with this vision of making this sector a lot more approachable and saving people a lot of money and water and helping them with something that otherwise is considered a little bit difficult to use. Yeah.
Very cool. So Skydrop has a kind of a unique interface to it. It looks like it has like a scroll wheel to it, and maybe a touchscreen. I'm not too sure, but the pictures online look really cool. Like this looks like a pretty high tech gadget.
Yeah, from the start, we kind of went back and forth on a lot of, okay, what does Skydrop need to be? And one thing that we wanted from the beginning is we wanted a strong visual identity that people could understand that this was something very different from your existing sprinkler controller. And so what that is, and so any of your listeners who happen to go to our site and see it, you'll see that there is, on the right side, there's a metal ring, and that is a jog dial. And so that is all your interaction. And so on the left side, it's not a touch screen. We went back and forth, should it be touch, not, but we kind of thought, a lot of times when people are outside, their hands are dirty and things like that. So we made a conscious decision to stick with a jog dial. And another thing that's great about a jog dial is it gives you real tactile feedback, and it's something that young or old, most people can figure out a jog dial. So essentially all your interaction takes place just on the right side. You turn it and you click. And that's it. That's all you have to know to use Skydrop from the device itself. And then, of course, you can use it remotely from a web browser of your choice or apps.
Yeah, it looks like you have on there that it connects over Wi-Fi, so it's got to get to the Wi-Fi signal from your house. Does this mount inside or outside? How does that work? It looks like maybe there's a wires that come off the bottom of it. Is there a separate piece that like a relay board or something that we don't see?
Yeah, so on our website, some other sections should show up, but essentially it comes in two pieces. What you get in the box, you get what we call the wall plate, and it's essentially just a thin block, you could say, that you take that and you screw in. So if you were to install this, for example, you'd take off your existing box. It's just a drop-in replacement, and you'd take the wall plate and you would screw it in from all four corners and just take your existing wires and wire it up. And very simple. Everything's done with your hands. Once you get done with screwing it into the wall itself, you just push it in and basically it'll click. And if you want one of your zone wires to release, you just push down on the release, and it's just a little button and it just comes undone. And then the main unit, which is what you see, is it just clicks right on top of it. And so you just push it in, click on top of it, and it'll power up.
Very cool. So it sounds simple enough. Now, do you guys anticipate that most of your customers are going to do a self-installation on this, or is this something that people will want to kind of have an irrigation professional come over and look at, or do you think it's going to be maybe a combination of those two?
Definitely like a combination as we see it. We think we've very, very much lowered the barrier of installation. Essentially the hardest part of the entire installation is to take 4 included screws and screw it into the wall. And once you've done that, it's
then the hard part's over.
It's done. Yeah. You've won at that point. So, and so, but some people, without a doubt, they will always opt to have a professional come and do it. And what's great is we have a lot of, not only does right out of the box day one make it easier, but we also have a lot more things lined up that we'll have to allow professionals to take care of their clients' sprinkler systems as well. So we definitely have built it with them in mind as well.
Okay. Yeah. I was actually going to ask about that. So why don't we touch on that now? Is this a product that will sell primarily straight to consumer? Are there plans to go through a dealer channel in place of that, or maybe in addition to that? And if so, what kind of, Seth and I work in the professionally installed end of the smart home market. So we have a number of listeners who are also involved in that end of the market. What kind of plans do you have to kind of maybe allow irrigation professionals to add value on top of the offering?
Well, we definitely will have more announcements coming, but essentially we are selling to both, and we can there are more announcements, but we've talked to both supply places, and we'll have some announcements forthcoming where it will be selling directly to supply places, very much for the professional market, as well as for residential owners who want to install themselves.
Okay, very cool. So it sounds like there's besides the hardware component of it, there's going to be some intelligence and some software that kind of exists out, in the cloud on the internet, to kind of, add some smarts, I guess, into what traditionally has been kind of a dumb system, right? They're just relay boards that kick on solenoids. I mean, there's not much to them. So can you tell us a little bit about how that'll work and what cool features you guys are like putting behind the scenes that'll make this a little more attractive than just your regular sprinkler controller?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I'll just mention right from the start is, it does have a beautiful interface and display, and hopefully it's very much something you'd want to share. It might be that first sprinkler controller you'd ever be willing to share or show it off to your friends and family. But we wanted to make it so you have the choice where you can just install it as a dumb sprinkler. Say, you're selling your house or something like that. But of course, the real magic happens when you connect it to Wi-Fi and you talk to our cloud service. And from there, what's great is we pull down weather as it's happening, and so it'll water when it needs to, and it won't water when it doesn't need to. And that's kind of the key thing. And so, for example, I live in Utah, not exactly known as the wettest place. We're the second driest state. And this last week, though, it's been pretty unusual in that we've had a lot of rain, which we don't normally get this time of year. And so instead of like years prior where I would have just kept watering, every other day, instead I'm watering, for the last 2 weeks, it's only had to water a couple times. And so that's what the Skydrop technology gives you, is it's pays close attention to the weather, where it's located, to know when it needs to water and when it doesn't.
Yeah, that's kind of a big thing. I mean, down here there's a town probably about an hour south of me yesterday that got about 6 inches of rain in one day. And, I'm sure if you drove around that town, there'd be sprinklers on. Just running full blast.
I just barely saw it this morning because we had a big rainstorm this morning, and I was driving into our offices, and there was just so many sprinklers on. So it's just a huge opportunity where we can save so much water.
Are you guys?
What's that?
I was going to ask, what are you guys using for the weather data? Is it kind of like Weather Underground type, or just like national data sources for weather and that kind of thing? Is it like super hyper local weather, or is there some kind of way that you're integrating with maybe a weather station on site? How does that work?
So one of our initial goals with Skydrop is we didn't want to make our users have to get on their roof and install a weather station or anything like that. We wanted to make it as simple as just replacing the box you have and putting Skydrop in its place. And so with that in mind, so we pull from Weather Underground, and basically we pull from the nearest location. And so, for example, my zip code, which isn't even very big, it has multiple stations just from Weather Underground where we can pull from. So it's pretty amazing how local it's become.
Yeah, those are pretty good, because it's not just like the main station that's reading at the airport, the official station. Some people are able to tie in their pretty complex weather stations and send that data to Weather Underground. So that's a pretty cool.
We just had an email from an individual asking if we could tie his specific station in, and so that would be something we'd be very excited about, because more and more Weather Underground's allowing people to just set up their own and broadcast it to their system. So yeah, it's pretty great.
Cool. Now we've talked about the intelligence and kind of weather monitoring. As far as water usage actually goes, do you have mechanisms built into the system where people can, for instance, one of the things that comes to mind for me when I think about possibly implementing a system like this would be if I could sort of set maybe a predetermined budget that I want to spend on water, and kind of have the system keep an eye on where I'm at on my water spending. Maybe I could go into the software and plug in some rates and maybe some local information. Do you have water monitoring and usage monitoring built into your system as well?
Yeah, so I should have clarified one thing with, so you mentioned sensors and things. So by default, it comes with 8 zones. And when I talked about the main unit kind of clicking on top of the wall plate, we'll have shortly, coming out here after our launch, an expansion unit that you can actually click on top of the wall plate. And so think of just Legos, where you're just putting bricks on top of each other. So what we're going to have is you can expand it at any time up to 16. And with that expansion unit, we'll actually have a capability to hook into a flow sensor. So should the customer already have a flow sensor or would want that, they'll be able to hook into a flow sensor, which gives us some pretty awesome capabilities, like being able to detect leaks and things like that.
Along
with that, which would be great for professionals, right? Because you'll be notified from your phone, this customer has a leak, and you'll be able to respond to it before your customer may even know. So yeah, we're really excited about being able to do things like that. So, so that will give us just total granular reports and things where you can see exactly how much water you're using. Before that happens, we have pretty good estimations, but obviously we don't have anything as good as what a flow sensor allows. But what you're talking about with the budget and things, so you have full control of the controller. You can tell it, okay, I only want this zone to water this much, and basically Skydrop just decides when to water. On top of that, you have as much or as little control as you want. You can set up custom schedules. So, for example, if you're watering seedlings or anything like that, you could say water 10 times a day, this for 2 minutes. So you have as much control as you want. But certainly the budget thing is something that's planned. And so you'll be able to give a very specific budget, especially with that flow sensor, where you can say, this is exactly how much I want to use and don't go over this, and Skydrop will be able to adapt to that.
Right. That's very cool. As somebody who's kind of, I would consider myself an average user, I know very little about the technicalities of caring for a lawn. Do you guys have sort of a mechanism built in to, I would say, guide people through this process? Because I'm assuming that different types of grass, or maybe different lawns, depending on the amount of shade it gets during the day, or if it's on a slope, these types of things may affect how much you actually should be watering. Are you guys giving people any guidance in the software through that process, or is the user just kind of going in and entering the timed schedules based on maybe their own research?
No, it's yes, very much we're helping out. So like when I talked about my own frustrations, what really became clear to me is there's two major barriers of entry to like really, first of all, you got to learn how to use this device with all these different knobs and things, which with traditional ones, we've all probably had some confusion about exactly how you're supposed to use them. And then on top of that, even when you do, it's how much should I water? What should I water for this zone versus that zone? And so Skydrop is very much meant to address those barriers. And so, first of all, it's very simple to use, as I discussed, it's just a jog dial where you can use your phone or a web browser, so you can use it however you want, but it's very approachable either way. And even things like as simple as turning on zones, like before when I had mine, I had to like turn on each zone like each year to figure out, okay, that's what zone 4 was. Well, now you name them, right? So you know exactly where the different zones are. And then on top of that, what you do is basically when you go through the initial setup, you'll enter what time you would like it to water. And then for each zone, we just ask a couple questions like what you were mentioning. So does it have a slope? Is this zone shaded? And, is this grass or is it shrubs? And so we ask these basic questions, and you don't have to give us any of them, but the more you give us, the better job we can do to ensure it's watering specific to your landscape's needs. And so, for example, slope's a great one, because if by chance your existing sprinkler controller had the capability, you would have to set up what's called a cyclone soak. So basically what happens is with a slope, it can only take so much water before all that water just runs off and goes to the bottom. And so you'll see a big pool at the bottom because it couldn't actually absorb that water. So what Skydrop does is it takes care of that for you. You say, okay, this zone number 1 has a slope, zone number 2 doesn't, and each one might go for 20 minutes. And what Skydrop will do is it'll water zone 1 for 10 minutes, go on to zone 2 and do 20 minutes, and then water zone 1 again for 10 minutes. And it just does that for the user, so they don't have to figure out, okay, how many times am I supposed to water this? How much can it take or absorb? Skydrop will take care of that for you.
Wow! I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of there's a lot more complicated to set up a sprinkler system than I ever imagined. I've seen these little boxes on the walls, with the buttons and relay boards and everything built into them. Just never really paid attention to them. In some of the homes that I'm in every day, they have them. The one I have at my house is just basically a valve. You just turn on a spigot and it hooks up to the sprinklers outside. So nowhere near as complex, but I mean, this sounds pretty. It sounds pretty amazing that you guys have built all this intelligence in. It would certainly make installing one of those systems a lot easier.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've really tried to lower the barrier of entry, and for example, as well, we'll suggest based on the type, whether it's grass or whatever, we'll give you a suggested minutes. So we'll give you a range, say maybe 16 to 24 minutes for this zone, and you can kind of play with that. And another thing, we will follow up with you. So, if one zone's looking a little bit yellow, you can put that, and Skydrop will automatically adjust for that. So it's not just our algorithms do a really good job in terms of, they're very intelligent at getting things pretty darn close the first time. But that's why we follow up and make sure we fine tune it to exactly each landscape. And so that's another thing we do as well, because it is complicated. And it's no wonder, I have some neighbors who water multiple times a day, some water maybe every third day. It's all over the place because who knows how to do this, right? And so that's what Skydrop is trying to help address.
Oh no, it's pretty confusing. I mean, it's from all the stuff you were explaining, I had no idea that much thought went into these things. They just look like relay boards to me. So it's either on or off, and so you're not watering 100% of the yard at the same time. Maybe they just click on different zones, but the slope and the type of vegetation and everything make a lot of sense to me now.
Yeah.
What price are you looking for? At a retail level, what's the price point for a Skydrop system?
$299.
And is there
and no recurring costs?
Oh, I was going to ask about that. There's no cost for the intelligence built outside.
No, that's just included in the initial pricing.
And that'll get you the 8-zone system, correct?
Correct.
Do you guys have pricing on the expansion?
I don't have pricing to announce yet on the expansion,
okay.
But that will be coming very shortly, and that'll be available probably in October. We're just doing a lot of testing with the expansion.
Sure.
As well as, I should mention, outdoor enclosure. So the Skydrop unit itself is not waterproof, but we'll have a really cool outdoor enclosure that will keep it protected for areas that need that as well.
Yeah, very nice. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is just the savings for a potential user. I know I'm asking this knowing that it's probably an impossible question for you to accurately answer because there's so many variables depending on where you live. But have you seen, or do you anticipate a significant savings for the average user to kind of offset that cost of buying the system up front?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're right. It very much, I mean, each user is very different. Some people are like so good about, it's going to rain. They pay attention to the weather and they go out and turn theirs off or whatever. And some people will put it on one setting for the entire year and keep it at that. For example, myself, I probably adjusted mine 3 times a year, once in the spring, once in the summer, and then once later in the fall. And that was, okay, but that seems to be about a little better than most people probably put into it based on just conversations I've had. But the variance in how much it needs watering from week to week can have drastic effects on how much water you actually use. And so that's what Skydrop really takes care of, so that you don't have to worry about that. So, I just gave you an example of just this last 2 weeks here where I've only had to water a couple times. A year ago, I would have watered 7 times in that same space. So you can already see how much I would have saved. Earlier this year, we had like this really wet part of May where it just happened to rain a lot for about 3 weeks, and my Skydrop didn't water for a full 3 weeks. Again, I would have been probably watering every third day. And so you can see how quickly the savings come up, especially for people like myself who have to pay a pretty significant amount. Then you go to California and a lot of these other places, and it's extremely expensive for water, and it's only going up. So
yeah, and they're in extreme droughts right now. I mean, it would be great if everybody in the state of California had a system like this. I mean,
I totally agree.
I can imagine.
But I mean, and to go off, for example, the EPA estimates that about on average 50% of outdoor water is just wasted. There's just too much used, right? And again, it goes back to who knows how to set these up, who knows how much they need to water. And so, that is specifically what Skydrop is meant to address, though, is that 50% water waste that they've calculated.
Gotcha.
Very cool.
I had one real quick question that I just wanted to follow up on that with. Seth mentioned California, and that's where I live, and it begs the question from me because I know it's such a huge issue out here, as well as so many other states. Are there any states or municipalities that you guys have been talking to about possible rebate or incentive programs, maybe for people implementing a smart irrigation system like this?
Yeah, and we have been in talks with a lot of different municipalities and watering districts, and we're going through the hoops, if you want to call it, to get our controller available for rebate here as soon as possible. So you'll be seeing some announcements in terms of that, which will certainly make it even easier for people to upgrade to a Skydrop.
Yeah, it seems like a no-brainer to I mean, at the price point that you mentioned, and then just all the intel that you can get out of it, I mean, it probably would pay for itself pretty quickly, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a lot of devices, and there's a lot of smart home things, and they're awesome, and they, there's a lot of conservation and things that they're able to provide. But what this industry and this sector just seems so ripe. Not only is it just becoming such a big issue in, for example, California, but there's just so much we can do to lessen it. There's just a lot. There's a big opportunity, I think, which Skydrop can certainly be a part of to address. Because, yeah, again, if the EPA is right and it's really 50% is waste, that's just huge compared to all the other things in our house. Like they have us put stripping on windows and things like that. But I mean, in terms of this space, what we can do to really save a lot is very significant.
So I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask about an API for third-party home automation systems and that type of integration. It's nice for us to know, I guess, as integrators. Is that something you guys are looking at? I know APIs are that's kind of like a mature product. Like you have to have a mature product. Everything has to be set up right before you publish something public like that. What's your take on it? Is that something you're hoping to have ready to go when the units start shipping, or is that something that's down the road?
Our first priority was just to get the unit itself shipped, but we've had a ton of interest. We first introduced this at the CES this year, and so from that, we had just a ton of interest from a bunch of different people that would like to integrate with it, and so it's something we're very interested in. And so our first priority was getting launched, but again, it is something we'll absolutely have, and so third-party software and things like that can integrate. And very excited to see where that would take things as well.
Yeah, well, that's music to our ears here at HomeTech, so we're glad to hear that. So we're kind of running out of time here, Clark. We wanted to thank you again for coming on the show. What's the next step for Skydrop? I think you guys told me you were looking at a mid-August launch. Are you still on schedule for that? And how are things looking there?
Yeah, it's looking very solid. We're right around mid-August to get units. We've already started manufacturing parts of the controller, and so it's well underway. So we're just excited to get it out. And then, we'll have the expansion unit, the outdoor enclosure I referenced. But really, Skydrop was built, it's to be very modular. And so what we're also very, very excited about is, in the future, we're very excited for what we can offer our users and customers day one, but we're also very excited what they'll be able to do with Skydrop after year one, because there's a lot of plans we have and a lot of things that Skydrop will be able to integrate with and do. So
yeah, I would think excited. That kind of the roadmap for you guys is pretty exciting. There's a lot of opportunity in this space. So given the mid-August launch or so, for people listening who might be interested in purchasing one of your units, how will they be able to do that? Is that exclusively through the website for now?
We will shortly have some big announcements with some major retailers where you'll be able to purchase it. Right now, I would suggest just going to skydrop.com, and we have a waiting list that is pretty long, and we're certainly excited to get it out to our people who have signed up.
Well, Clark, I definitely want to thank you for your time and coming on Home Tech and chatting with us about Skydrop. I really didn't realize how, hard it was to set one of these systems up. I mean, all the stuff you're telling me about, like, it just seems like it should work out of the box, and it seems like you guys have produced a product that can do that. I guess if somebody wants to touch base with you guys, the best way is through your website over at Skydrop?
Yeah, absolutely. info@skydrop.com. Just shoot us an email. We're certainly happy to respond to any questions that people may have about how Skydrop works and any other things. We're happy to hear from everybody.
Excellent. Well, again, thanks for your time, and we appreciate you coming on Home Tech.
All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Clark.
Take care. See ya.